teach by in the form of asking questions in order to make sure that everything that I'm saying is understood. So I don't think that that's the case. I think in the vast majority of situations, people walk away if they're truly engaged in a conversation with me with a better understanding. I don't think that that's something that's supposed to happen. I think that only happens with people who are ineffective communicators, and I'm not one.
Yeah, so for everybody that's watching, please watch Fanatic and do what he
I'm
does in
sorry.
order to reach out to the people that don't think as hard as they're supposed to, especially when engaging in very political matters.
There are no brain dead people. I take
Uh,
huge issue with that. No, there are no brain dead people. No, the reality is there are people who are dumb. There are people who choose to be dumb. There are people who choose to be ignorant. I don't think there are truly people in this world who are incapable of understanding why OJ. Of course, there are mental exceptions for people. I'm not trying to be ableist here. But for the most part, speaking on a bell curve, I think if you hear the things about OJ and you decide that he's guilty, it's not because there's something wrong with your brain or because you're different than me or because you're less than me. It's because you made a choice. And most people make a choice off of their feelings in the moment. That's okay. You're not stupid for doing that. The stupid thing is pretending like you're above that or like you're different than that. If you just say, look, I'm a human like everybody else. When I hear something about OJ, I'm going to make some decisions right away. I just got to remind myself that I'm going to do that and try to be a little bit more, show a little bit of candor. It's like, this happens all the time in real life. You ever gone to the library and someone's ass is hanging out? You get like a little look, but you're not going to sit there and like eye their ass. Like because even though your brain is telling you to, it doesn't either way, right? Let's say they're super hot. Even though your brain is telling you to, there's another part of you that you're appealing to, the logic, the reason that's saying, okay, yeah, but if I stare at this person's ass in a Barnes and Noble, they're going to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to make them uncomfortable. Yeah, I want to look. Yeah, it feels good. Whatever. But when it comes to other things, all of a sudden, when it comes to knowledge about O.J. Simpson or knowledge about XYZ, all of a sudden it's like, no. You actually, it's because you're an idiot. You just can't think it through like everybody. You just haven't thought it through like I have. No, I think that they haven't thought it through like you have, but not because they're idiots. Just because no one's challenged them to do that. That's why is Fanatiq saying, look at all these amazing results I get. I don't think Fanatiq has some special sauce other than Fanatiq challenges you like a human, and you have two options. You can either rise to that or you can crumble. And both of those are W's. Like you know what I mean? Like you're getting the truth out of somebody. That's at least my opinion on the matter.
So if you don't get if you don't get a if you don't hear the person concede, you have to go for the crumble.
wait. Okay, I have a question. If somebody is mentally handicapped, okay, is there a difference for you between somebody who's mentally handicapped, diagnosed, and somebody who just has a low IQ, or is it like once your IQ dips below a certain threshold, then you are automatically mentally handicapped?
IQ. Sorry, go ahead.
That's what they said. That's literally it. Like, once your IQ goes below a certain threshold, yes, you are mentally handicapped. That's
Okay,
like
let's say the threshold is like 70. Okay, let's say the threshold's 71. So like if you have a 70 IQ, you're mentally handicapped. But if you have that 71, aren't you just kind of like, wouldn't those be the people we're talking about as like brain dead?
Have you ever played a fighting
like,
game?
They're not mentally handicapped, but
Zerk, have you ever played a fighting game?
have I? Yes.
You know how you can put handicaps on?
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible to play with the handicaps. You could still win or lose.
Correct.
Just because someone is handicapped doesn't mean they're incapable or unable. It just means they're differently abled. It might be that you have to do a little bit of extra work or a little bit of different work or a little bit of more understanding, a little bit more listening. It's different, but it's not impossible. There's no line that we cross where suddenly you can't. I think there's only one line that you can no longer communicate with someone is language. That's it. I think as long as you speak the same language, you're going to be able to communicate as long as the other person wants to, of course. You can't just make it happen. But no, I mean, mentally handicapped or not, like I think that most people can have these conversations. And even if you're mentally handicapped, just acknowledge that. Take a little bit of extra time with the prompts. Like there's nothing wrong with these things. It just
No. I'm saying for the people who aren't mentally handicapped, like they're legally above the threshold of mentally handicapped, but they're dangerously close.
Sure.
Like,
well, IQ isn't the whole
people,
story, right?
Because it's like They don't
I don't
really
think
have a
that's the
learning
case.
disability. They're too slow. They
What
can't
do
do it.
you? What is
It's
your?
not that they're slow. The most time they're just being dishonest, or they've already made their choice, like, as he said already.
Yeah,
I
my
believe that.
question to you, Zerk, would be: do you think these people are truly incapable of changing their minds?
I think that they are capable of changing their minds. Yes.
Right, everyone,
But I
no
think
matter
the,
what,
but I think
right?
the way that you change their mind is not through like facts, reason, and logic. I think it's by saying
Maybe.
something that like either sounds cool, that has like sweet alliteration, or that is
Hmm.
like you use certain speech giving tactics like repetition, saying something over and over again so that it like sticks in their mind. You could be wrong the whole time, but if it sounds good, they'll change their mind.
In your opinion, why does that stuff work? Why does that work for everybody, even those with regular IQ?
Hmm. I mean, some it touches something in our emotions.
Right. That would absolutely be my answer. Is that there's something emotional that you're appealing to there. You're not appealing to anything intelligent. So talking about intelligence in this is an important part, but you're saying how are they going to intelligently respond when I appeal to them emotionally? No. If you're appealing to someone emotionally, you're going to get an emotional response. Doesn't matter if they're 5 IQ or 100. If you're people who I don't think people are so low IQ that they're incapable of intellectualizing something. I think they can be so low IQ that it might be longer, it might be different. But have you ever run into someone who you truly feel can't understand the things that you're trying to tell them? Maybe they can't understand
Yes,
the math of it
my
or the
ex-roommate.
geometry of it. Okay,
My ex-roommate. That's why I
sure.
was like, oh. He was a
Well,
great
that's fair.
person, like good heart. Like he was an I wouldn't hate. I obviously, was friends with him for years, but our friendship actually ended over a conversation where he just couldn't get it.
Do you think that
And his
person is never
friendship,
capable
because
of
he
getting
would,
it?
uh, maybe one day. I don't know. Maybe one day. It just
That's all.
I don't know.
I guess the reason I ask all these questions one after another is because what you said is really interesting, and I think it's really important. I wanted to see if your thought was more towards maybe we should do away with these people that are not really fit for these conversations, or maybe we should try to find that way to appeal to them. What do you think is more like your thrust here?
I think that when people like us have this conversation, if we can come to an agreement, then we can agree that that's what we are teaching to the people who. Okay, if
Yeah, you came in and said LOL to my shit, and then I responded to it. That's me dunking on you? All right.
98 people tell you you're wrong, but one person tells you that you're right, you're going to listen to that one person because of confirmation bias. So I think we have these conversations among ourselves. We come to a consensus and we try to make it so that that one person no longer exists, so that they can no longer cling to that person to say that they're right, and they have to then listen to what is right. Like if we're
Sure.
disagreeing, they can always choose whichever one of us they want to agree with to be wrong.
Yes, yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier. When you're talking about this stuff, it's very important to say you feel strongly on the issue, but you don't know. Like, I don't know what Vosh has said, but I'm willing to guess that there's probably some grand assumptions being made. And my frustration there wouldn't be, oh my gosh, Vosh, you feel like OJ's guilty. It's, no, you're telling all these people that he is guilty and not saying I might be wrong. And like you just said, most people are going to hear that and go, okay, well, the person I'm agreeing with said the thing I agree with, so I'm right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a we would call that an echo chamber. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Damn. Do you feel like this has been a productive conversation about OJ, Fanatiq?
Somewhat. I think we touched on other things. I can. It's not what I would have dreamed, but it's just there were things that were discussed that I think that were important and needed to have been said. So yeah, overall, works.
Can I ask a question real quick? Can we just talk briefly about the evidence that you think would have because I want to say, because I'm still kind of confused as far as how we can come to a guilty verdict here. We shot down the DNA evidence. I mean, Fanatiq did a pretty good job at that, right? What else was in there? Because maybe I missed it. Because again, I only remember about I don't know, an hour and some change into the documentary I watched. And I didn't watch the case. I didn't watch the case frame by frame from back in the 90s or anything like that. And I didn't listen to a myriad of different opinions and conversations regarding it. Maybe Fanatiq did, but what else was there?
I
you know
agree
what
with
I'm saying,
what
that
both
could
of you were
actually
saying. Soviet,
lead
except for the part where you
into
think I'm making
a
broad
guilty
general
verdict
claims about
if the DNA evidence was not it. Like, what else was there?
What evidence was there at the thing? I don't think there was any good evidence. I mean, what potential evidence? I mean, yeah, if
It's not a dunk to say, can you provide some evidence? And then when you don't, I say, well, I don't think you have any evidence. I don't think that's a dunk. I think that logically follows. If I say, can you show me proof? And you say no, right? Like it took a lot of asking for you to provide any evidence. I'm sorry that you feel like that's dunking on you, but I'm not trying to get a W. I'm trying to engage your brain in thinking. I wanted you to research it and then post me what you researched, not just tell me what you heard on TikTok and assume that it's true. Now, maybe you're not doing that, but that's just what it seems like when there's very strong opinions being made, and then upon the asking for evidence, all of a sudden the typing stops, right? Like, I think it's fair for me to read that and assume that maybe you don't know what you're talking about. And I could be wrong. It's an assumption. I'm not perfect. I make assumptions. I'm going to be wrong. But you're also your own human, and it's kind of your job to communicate with me. And if you feel like you're not communicating with me properly, that you have the evidence, and I feel like you're not communicating with me properly, that you have the evidence, then maybe you're miscommunicating.
Us to really go off of as far as a guilty verdict.
Well, that's fair. It's hard to lay out in text on Twitch. That's very fair. Yeah, I can understand it being hard to lay out the evidence one at a time, especially when we're talking about like 5 different cases. That's fair. But to be fair on my side, I didn't ask you for all the evidence. I asked you for one piece. Gallo.
But like, if there's nothing to really contend with, if we can't really come up with something to really push for a guilty verdict, again, if either one of us was going to be heavily pushing for the guilty verdict, as the way the case was laid out in reality, right, it's just been theatrics. Like, we would have just been up here being clowns, trying to put on a show, and I don't think that's.
No, you don't have to do that. I think there's plenty of different ways people interpret different pieces of information, and furthermore, all of the information, like in one direction, shouldn't be coming from one individual. It shouldn't be just me, like, hey, well, here's the facts, so on and so forth, right? Like that shouldn't. We should just be informed, and with any type of information, the more informed you are, the more you can talk about something. If I wanted to have a deep,
he is blaming racism. I was just saying he wasn't blaming only racism. That was my only point. I understand he's saying that racism is involved. I'm just saying it's not only racism he's saying is involved, which was your initial point. You said that he was taking everything and saying that it was all racist, which is not what he's doing.
I got you.
So
yeah, especially with this case, I definitely after watching the case, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to do.
It's the single biggest part of his argument by far, Coke. Absolutely.
And the inner workings of it.
The single biggest.
I don't know how long that would have taken me with a 9 to 5. It'd have been pretty challenging, to say the least. Especially given the time frame that we were allotted and stuff like that. No shade, obviously.
Yeah, this is the best we've ever done. I've never, ever in the history of the show given people that much of an advance notice about exactly what topic it would be and asked them to do research before. Ever. Okay. This is the best I've ever done. It was incredibly disappointing because it was like, okay, now I've given people a heads up, so we're going to be able to have that. And of course, it still didn't make a difference. But I can't expect everybody to function the same way. But I'm used to it. Like, people. But
again, I predict
didn't
myself,
do surface level.
Had I looked into it as deeply as you would.
That's very fair. Yes, that's incredibly fair. I'd have to agree with that.
Like, not.
I didn't. I didn't need anybody. I did not need anybody to disagree with me. You can have really.
That's all. I just don't
really
like hyperbolic statements
with everyone in agreement. It happens all the time. That can absolutely be done. It's just we can't really get. It wouldn't be having a conversation about the nuances and the details of the case. It would just be an exposition by me. If I was to do that right now, because you don't know anything about the blood, you don't know anything about the marks, you don't know anything about, like, you don't know any of those details. None of you guys do. So we can't have that conversation. It would just be me talking. I might as well just do my own video, right? Because you guys can't have that conversation.
Sensei followed your channel. Desperado
And I,
Sensei followed your
I
channel.
think we can
Desperado
possibly
Sensei
get there,
followed your fucking
get to
channel.
that, you know, make that a goal or something at some point. But yeah, I mean that's a really good point. Obviously, you want us to be all researched. Why don't for at least for the OJ thing for now, let's go around and kind of just give a little bit of a closing. So talk about your channel, you know, shout yourself out, and just give a little bit of kind of your closing thoughts on today, and then we'll wrap up into post show if that's all right. Fanatiq.
Yeah, I think the O.J. Simpson trial was like really, really great because
Good to
I
see you,
think
Desperado.
it did a
How
bunch
the
of
hell you
things.
doing, buddy?
One, it pretty much put the officers themselves on trial, right? Like we got to see that was like the defense's goal, was to put those officers and put the LAPD on trial, put the system on trial. And I think it really did like expose some insane corruption, which actually had to play out later on. But I think the most important, the thing that I take away from this trial is just how obvious it is of how biased Americans are and how much we're willing to throw someone like that underneath the bus because they continue to do so. And it also shows the effectiveness of propaganda. That that shift in over 20 years to
Well,
where
of course
now
he
the
doesn't
average
think that
black
he did
person
it,
can find
so
him
why would he
guilty when
talk
only
about it?
22% of black people found him guilty originally. I think that's like indicative of like, hey,
Right, like you got to
propaganda
understand
is
his
effective,
perspective.
it's real, and we have to be wary of it. We need better voices to like actually expose the nonsense, and I want to try to get better at doing that. I've always wanted to engage in these kinds of conversations because I do
Edit
believe
work,
that
everything's been great.
Yeah, because lack of what is it?
Are you the one who does
perish because
titles?
of
We might
lack of
want to talk
knowledge.
about that a
And
little
I
bit.
think that that's what's happening here. They're just
like some of the
they're
titles are
ignorant
really
on
long.
something, and then they run wild with it. And I don't
Everything
want
else
that
is
to happen
amazing.
continually.
Okay.
You can follow me, twitch.tv/Mr. Fanatiq. I'm actually still in the process of gathering information. I want to do a deep dive into the O.J. Simpson thing. I've like reached out to a few people to have some kind of debates on these subjects for people who think he's guilty. And I don't think that there would be
And
a
that's
really,
totally
really
fair.
effective debate. I expect
Just understand
most of it to
Fanatic's
just be
point
virtue
is
signaling from
literally
the person
saying,
I can't believe
don't
you
just
think
do
this,
what you're
as they
doing,
tried to do
which is
with
fine. It's fine
Cosby.
that you
But
do
I think
that.
the effective thing is
saying, of course
being
you're
in
gonna
those
butt.
conversations
You have
and being
very
able to
different opinions
highlight,
on it.
challenging the person. Tell me the good evidence that he's guilty, and then as you tear down that evidence, you begin to expose how uninformed those people are. That's what I hope to do.
Okay, absolutely. M87.
Yeah. So my name is Marcus. Go by Hard Thinking on social media. For the most part, I do have a personal channel, Hard Thinking, but I'm kind of putting out to the side. I'm more so focused on my podcast, Chicago Black Delegation Podcast. We typically found on YouTube, but we're also on basic things like TikTok and Instagram, but primarily on YouTube. It's just a platform dedicated to the arming and uplifting of Black Americans, and promoting thought and promoting like these types of conversations where we take more I would say a more careful,
I understand
more
how you
detailed
could see
approach as
that
far as
if you think of it that way. But
creating
Fanatic doesn't think it's
coming
that he
to
killed
conclusions
anybody,
and stuff
so.
like that. Like I'm trying to promote being less, I don't know, instinctual about coming to what's the word I'm looking? I'm trying to put it together. Becoming like less instinctual about the decision makers.
If you want to go off of the trial, he was acquitted of all charges, so
for
you
the
would say
most
that he
part,
hasn't killed anybody.
He's just trying to
right?
show Black Americans.
He was tried in a civil
like
case.
Alternative.
completely different.
I mean, just show them what else is out there outside of their personal.
That he was found guilty in.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm getting a little bit tired. Outside of their personal, what's in their face and stuff like that, and just I'm so sorry, guys. I'm getting really tired. But all I'm trying to say is, please check us out, and then you will see where we're mostly talking about. We're just trying to get Black people together, and so that we can find a way out of this downward charting, so we can strategize futures that can better serve us in the future. Again, we can be found at Chicago Black Delegation Podcast on YouTube. Appreciate you.
Very nice. I'm Just Pawns, twitch.tv/Just Pawns, YouTube Just Pawns, Twitter Sensory Overlord. I think that I think that as someone who did not know a lot about this case before this week, the thing that I've learned the most is that it is very, very feelings based. Almost everything that you see online is very, very feelings based. Not the facts of the case, not the trial, everything around it. Every time you see people talking about it, every time you see social media posts. And if you're watching this right now and you heard some of this stuff today and you thought, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't realize any of that. I didn't know that all these things happened. Go and look for yourself. It's nothing is cut and dry when this thing has been a point of contention for what, 20, 30 years? This is a very, very interesting case with a lot of interesting things to look in on. There's evidence on both sides. Some might say more one than the other. But the big thing to take away from it is you need to look at these things for yourself and do not go off of the court of public opinion. If you were on trial, you wouldn't want Twitter deciding whether or not you were guilty. You would want jurors and peers deciding whether or not you were guilty. So focus on the jurors, focus on the peers, focus on the evidence, stay away from these social media bubbles for P. Diddy, for all of these people. It's happened so many times over and over again where someone gets accused of one thing and we want to go down this huge hyper psychoanalyzing of, oh my God, yeah, and they love to beat women and but it's just so, don't be a part of that. Be better than it. Look into it for yourself. Say you're going to wait for the evidence. No, people are going to call you a fence sitter for it, but it's not fence sitting to wait for the evidence. It's the exact opposite. You're just making a choice based off of what you see. And if you have future things that you want to talk about on the show, if you are watching right now and you think, man, I really want Fanatiq to talk about this or talk about that, go to the Fanatiq Discord, type about these things that you want to be talked about. They may be brought up on a show if they're compelling. So definitely get in there and be a part of it. Fanatiq has emails, there's Twitch, there's everything. Just get out there and let your questions be known. Yeah, and we'll take it over to Zerg.
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for having me on this evening. Really enjoyed the conversation, really enjoyed the discourse. Once again, I am one half of a streaming
watch
duo,
watch
actually,
the VOD bag.
so
Go watch the beginning because you
I
weren't
go
here for the
Zerg,
beginning.
and
To
that
be
is
fair,
the Z. The other person, his name is Danny, and he is the D. Our channel is
but I
D&Z
literally asked
Speak,
like,
where D&Z speak on
what's like the
everything.
basics of
I'm
the
putting
case, and he
spelling for
goes,
that
he kind of
in
runs
the
it
Twitch
down.
chat for you guys. If you want to check us out, we stream on Kick on Thursdays at about this time, so 8 Eastern until ... And we talk about similar discussions about pop culture, basically political, pop culture, relationship, and anime takes. I believe if things haven't changed, Fanatiq will actually be on our stream tomorrow because we'll be talking about some of his videos, and my stream partner, Danny, had some discrepancies with what Fanatiq had to say, so I'm really interested to see the two of them talk because let's just say it should be pretty good. So if you want to check out some VODs, right now they're only available on Kick. We're preparing them to make them look nice and pretty for you guys to put them on YouTube. Again, D&Z Speak is the way that it's spelled on all platforms: Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Kick, and YouTube. And as far as the OJ thing, I agree with mostly what Pons and Fanatiq said. But I did want to add the caveat that I think the uptick in Black people admitting that OJ is guilty now is not necessarily propaganda. I think a lot of them probably felt that before, but were more unified on the Black front and didn't feel right to say so, which was like my opening statement about the voting for Obama thing. So I think now they just felt like, okay, it's been long enough, like it's over with. Now I can say what I always felt, but I just knew not to say that then, or at least publicly. So yeah, I think that should be our goal here, at least as Black people, is bringing back that same kind of like unity that I feel like we had in decades prior to today, where it feels like everybody in their attempt to say that they don't see color, they're kind of like throwing their communities under the bus. Where before I feel like Black people were more unified. Even when we were more oppressed, we were more unified. And I want that to come back. And I don't know how to bring it back, but I think conversations like this help.
Very nice.
Okie dokie. Listen, actually will not. I have an audition tomorrow. I'm so sorry. And I didn't know that you guys had actually finished the whole video yet. So we'll have to do it next week, or anytime
Okay.
in between. But yeah.
Yeah,
There's an oppression of a race kind of
he ended
force
up watching
unification.
the extended one off stream just because to be ready for tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, you're
since
just
I
not
already
you're not
watched it.
saying that it's good, right? You're just saying that it can happen. I agree,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I gotta go all the way to hour and 45 minutes away for an audition.
But oppression of the race doesn't
Oh,
form
no worries,
unification.
we can
make it
It's
work.
the
Yeah.
uprising of
But I
one
would
race that
absolutely be
usually
available
creates the
after that.
unification, in my opinion.
Yeah. I had some people. There was a woman, she wanted to come on and speak. I don't know if she's around. But yeah, man, so one of the things that I always had a problem with, it felt like within like panels and stuff like that, is that yeah, people never did research. And I remember I eventually developed that habit because I just realized how uninformed everyone else was. I would go to my brother, and who's more politically like involved in general.
He's absolutely right. Nobody does any research for these things.
Give me his take. I'd like write down notes, and then by the time it'd be done, it'd be like, okay, now I'll go. And I remember like on specific issues being very like scared because it's like I know I don't know anything about this. And then after I got there, like with just the cursory knowledge that I had from reading a Wikipedia and just like having some very very like brief.
But that's what I mean, Coke, is like it's crazy. Like you can go so far without ever actually having to look anything up. I'm not saying you've done that, because it's clear now that you may have not done that. But it happens. A lot of people just kind of go into things with their fifis.
I think that's just the way people do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that you feel disappointed, but again, I did, like I said, I did as much research as I could.
Yeah,
Just,
you watched the whole documentary in 3 hours. It's pretty solid. I can't ask much more of that. Much more than that.
There's definitely more I could have did. Again, I definitely needed to know. I think it would have helped, and I'm not gonna spend too much time with excuses. Just bear with me for like briefly. It helped if I had some some baseline understanding of like the way certain things.
Yeah, exactly, right? You have the person who's read like 2 paragraphs of the wiki, and they're like, "Oh, I know everything there is to know about this issue," and it's like, no, like, no, especially not when the Wikipedia is wrong a lot of the times, which it is. Wikipedia is, if you go to the Wikipedia right now for the other guy we were talking about today, Jonathan Majors, it actually is flat out wrong about his trial. Yes, that's true, Desperado. That's absolutely true. But I think that that is a symptom, not the sickness. I think that that's because these streamers go in there like, oh my god, I'm going to totally own these people. I'm going to roll them. We're going to talk about all this stuff. It's going to be all this crap. And then you go in there and that's your goal. If you go into a chat with the goal of owning people, you're going to own people. But it might not get anything done. It might not be productive. And that's what Fanatiq is saying. Like, you can all agree on the same thing and have a more productive conversation than some idiot who just wants to come in and make you feel stupid, right? Like, yeah, the dunk hunters, exactly, right? Like, and those people are out there. Like, nothing. I don't care about the chat doing it. Like, sometimes chat does it. That's whatever. It's our job as streamers to be vetting that and reading it and being involved with that. But to do it on a panel is like incredibly destructive, and it makes people hate your guts.
Because life happened to them, so it's a challenge. That's just kind of what life is. So we're dealing with it one step at a time. But I think it'll get better and better. We'll improve it. That's the goal. Sure. Yeah, man. I it's always annoyed me though. The thing that Pon said earlier, he was 100% right in the sense that like most of the time people work from a position and then they work their way backwards to,
you said a mouthful, Sensei, when you say molehills.
For myself, I know that
absolutely.
At an early age, my mother was talking about the O.J. Simpson trial, right? And she read the book, and she like Johnny Cochran's book, because Johnny Cochran truly, genuinely believes that O.J. Simpson was innocent, truly believes it, and so.
For those of you who don't know, Cochran is the South Park made fun of him. If Wookiees do not belong on Andor, then you must acquit. He was a defense lawyer for O.J. Simpson.
She wrote a book like explaining why he believed that O.J. Simpson was innocent. And I think, having that perspective already, like I was probably more amenable to that position, right? But uh,
Yeah, the glove not fitting thing was definitely really.
I genuinely believe
It's just so
he
strange.
didn't commit those murders. I think his son did it legitimately.
I've seen a lot
Somebody was
about
talking
that. Yeah, what's the whole thing about his son doing it and then him just trying to, in a way, cover that up? What's it? Why is everyone so confident on that?
Well, okay, so his son like had like some super violent tendencies, and that was like a known thing at the time. And when it came time for the what am I saying? Um, the beanie, there was like a fiber. They found like a beanie, right? And that fiber from the beanie was like found on the crime scene. And so then they were like, they found, or so they thought it might have been OJ's or something. But there's a picture of his son. Oh, there's also a dog hair on that beanie, I believe. I'm not super like solid on all of this, but I'm pretty sure there was like also a dog hair there, and his son had that dog, and there's pictures of his son with that beanie. Furthermore, the type of knife that was used, they never had any evidence of OJ ever having access to any kind of knife like that, but his son actually did.
He's saying it right now.
And then
He's saying
as
he
far
thinks
as
his son did it.
that night, there was something about his son was a chef. He was a new chef for this like really expensive restaurant, and Nicole Brown Simpson was supposed to be coming to go see his son, to come to the restaurant to patronize business, and she ended up standing him up, like canceling at the last minute. And he was like trying to make a good impression.
No,
because
he's
it was, like, a
saying
new
he thinks
job,
his son
and
did
he was,
it.
like really trying to do well. And so she like stood him up. The son was on medication for like rage and violence, and he had recently been off. He had already spent time in mental institutions and stuff. So like this is something he was already like he had a tendency to do.
Damn.
And shortly before their murder, he had mentioned something along the lines of like, "Hey, I'm off my medication and I'm feeling rage, yada 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 yada." He needed to be readmitted, and for some reason was not. So of course all that's like circumstantial, but I mean it's kind of, I don't know. There was more though. I just don't remember all the details. But yeah, it sounded pretty compelling the way the detective had like gone into it. Could have been just bias and nonsense. I don't know. That's why you need like a defense to like kind of push back against it so that we can know for sure. But yeah, it sounded pretty reasonable from the perspective of this biased little reporting.
See, that's the part that I think is interesting, and the part that is really hard for people to come to terms with is you have like this whole, yeah, there's like an investigation, let's look into the facts, let's find someone who's guilty. But then on top of that, you have like this like social and like meta commentary about the whole thing, and it's like we can try OJ for it, but then we're not going to be able to also try his son. We're not going to be able to also try all these other people. Like we got to pick one person and we got to focus on that. And I know a lot of people see that and their go-to is like, okay, that's incredibly corrupt, that's incredibly dangerous. And I do agree that that's problematic, which is almost always going to lead to these kinds of issues. But I think there's also something to be said there that they do have to look at this also from like a little bit of a social standpoint, and a little bit of how are the people going to react. And I think that having to make those decisions is really bad. I think it's bad that those are included in, things such as investigations. And sometimes I even wonder if double jeopardy should truly be outlawed. I'm not sure. I'm not saying I think it shouldn't, but
Yeah.
I look at double jeopardy. Yeah, because you look at it and you're like, sometimes you go after, like Casey Anthony's a great example where a lot of people didn't know a great deal of evidence. It was specifically held because the defense lawyer said, if you put that evidence to the case, we're going to plead insanity for her. So they held a lot of great evidence. One of the evidences was that Casey Anthony's mom did not know that the child was missing and found out weeks later. Casey's story was that the mom knew the whole time. And that was something that was specifically hidden from the jury. And they went back after and said, I might have made a different decision having known that now. And I think that kind of stuff is really tragic.
It is. Yeah, I mean, that Casey Anthony.
Is it automated because you said the N-word? My bad. I'm not black friendly on this channel. Just kidding.
Yeah, that one was so painfully obvious. And I feel like the vast majority of people like know that she's guilty. Know it.
Right.
Like, and like it was also like a pretty highly publicized like case. and they just kind of skirted over it.
And growing up, I mean, I obviously, being a white guy, I never grew up with any particular interest in the OJ case. But I always remember OJ and Casey Anthony being brought up in the same breath. I grew up in Florida where Casey Anthony was, everybody hated her there, but it was always bringing these two people up in the same breath. And it's like you said, it's not that you're saying, oh, OJ's innocent and she's guilty. You're saying, look at how we treat these two things the same when they're very clearly very different. Casey Anthony had some serious hard evidence that was just not shown, more than circumstantial.
For sure.
Yeah, that's
they found like the DNA of the baby in her car, like from the baby decomposing. She lied.
Yeah, why'd you get out on it then?
She literally fabricated the individual who she supposedly left the baby with. Like, I left her with this.
She made up a job, right? The police said, she's like, I work at the mall. They took her to the mall. She got there. They're like, where do you work? She turned around and said, I don't actually work here. Like, she's just like some really weird shit.
At Disney I work. And
Disney, oh my God.
She didn't work there either.
It's actually like very, very weird stuff. Very weird. Yeah.
Do you know, to the contrary, when it came time for the OJ thing, do you know that he went and he spoke to the detectives? He got a lawyer, and then he went there and he was like, oh, I don't need you to come in. I'm going to talk to the detectives by myself. He volunteered himself to go in and speak to the detectives by himself. He never truly expected to be the prime suspect because he knew that he hadn't done it. So he had the conversation and everything. It was totally fine. He was cooperating 100%. It's like, oh, for a guilty person to just decide, yeah, I'm gonna go in and speak to the.
I'll undo that. As an autistic person, I'm reclaiming the word retard.
Just gonna have this conversation is crazy.
Damn.
Thursday, you've been on my brain. How you doing? Hey, there was somebody in your chat that had some arguments. Did that person want to hop on?
Crazy for Coke? Yeah, that's a great question, Coke. You want to talk to Fanatiq a little bit? But to be fair,
listening or something.
To be fair, Coke dropped in the middle of the conversation after you had explained all of the evidence and was just hearing the second half of it. And I think they just assume that you are trying, basically that you're just crying racism. And I was trying to tell them was it's not, I don't think Fanatiq is just saying that it's only racism. I think Fanatiq is saying here's racism, here's some other factors, but racism is probably going to be the primary factor when we're talking about it. What do you think about that?
Motive. Racism is just the motivation, the motive, right? But
sure.
Did y'all see the part about the Kita dog? About the Kita dog and the discovery of the body? That part of it?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. What's that?
So yeah, basically, if I can recall it correctly, there was a neighbor whose dog was barking profusely, and then
they had mixed conversation. Some people said that she wasn't barking, and then some people were saying that the dog was barking. And it was like, if the dog is not barking, it's because they're familiar.
I was diagnosed with autism very young.
OJ, because he had been to that place before.
Not the phony baloney autism.
Mixed testimony. Some people said that the dog barked, and other people
exists nowadays.
But then I think multiple neighbors said that the dog did bark.
Okay, but and then how did and then the dog discovered the body?
If you want to talk to Fanatiq or me, check out my Discord. There's the link.
Guide them to the.
If you want to talk to Fanatiq or me, check out my Discord.
Didn't the dog
There's the
guide
link.
them to the body or something like that? Isn't that what I read?
Awkward.
That's not how it went.
I don't believe that's how it happened.
It didn't do it.
But I could be wrong. Maybe that's just a detail that I
Let me try it in the restream.
I'll DM you or whatever when I find it out.
Okay.
But yeah, I found that so bizarre. I'm like, wait, really? The dog discovered the body? That's what we're gonna. Okay.
Yeah, that's so weird. I have no idea. Sounds weird though. I ain't gonna lie.
So,
but it could have happened.
I'll definitely get back with you guys on that one. So what's up, guys? I don't think Zerk is coming back.
No, Zerk had to dip. Yeah.
Yeah. We're supposed to wrap at 5:45. I mean 6:45. But what I'm gonna do is there's someone I was supposed to.
Yeah, the Pink Froggo Empire. Welcome.
Been absent, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have that conversation.
What do you think? What's your take on the people that look at his character? Because I mentioned this earlier. A lot of people are kind of talking about, again, this is like the black side of the character assassination, that he didn't associate himself with black people and stuff like that. Is that an important factor for you guys?
Not regarding his guilt or not.
No, it's not important to me. I'm sorry. I think that It's the same shit to me. I'm sorry. Like you look at whether or not someone's innocent or guilty. You start at the end and then you like go back and, oh, he's guilty, so he must not be black, or oh, he's innocent, so he must not be black. Like I don't understand what that has to do with any of the argument at all.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it's
It's
just like
crazy.
it's like the very weird character assassination. I'm not saying you're doing it, M80.
I bring it up just to, as far as passing conversation, but it's like I just find it kind of weird when people kind of bring up this attitude towards Black Americans, like when he prior to this case and stuff like that, married a white girl, and there's all of those things and stuff like that we kind of see quite frequently that people use to just judge and criticize a Black man for and stuff like that. It was just, and I'm just like, okay, I get it, but like, why are we talking about this in a time like this? Why are we talking about his what he chose to do with his life and stuff like that? When we're supposed to be talking about like the case itself, and we can have a conversation about that, and I'm for the most part with the whole, hey, we should start helping each other out, and like don't forget about where you came from when you move out into Beverly Hills and stuff like that.
Don't tell Destiny about this conversation. He's gonna get triggered out his fucking mind.
I just think it's a time and place for everything, and that's not the time and the place. I mean, sorry, not that, but speaking about somebody's like how they chose to live their life and stuff like that, it's not the time and the place to have that type of conversation. We're supposed to be talking about this court when we're talking about the trial.
Yeah, I think I mean, there's a conversation to be had there, though. I do think like, yeah, he was kind of like anti-black, and I mean, OJ, freaking Jay-Z, like pointed out in the story of OJ. That's like,
yeah, he fucking hates Fanatiq. I know, it's really stupid.
It's very anti-black, so I get it. Again, my problem is I don't like that the narrative became Black people are cheering for the death of OJ Simpson.
It doesn't go both ways. Let me tell you what it is, Coke. It's that Fanatiq thinks that Destiny is racist because of the things that he says and does. Destiny does not want to talk to someone who calls him racist because Destiny has a very different definition of racism. But Fanatiq's definition of racism is not Destiny's definition of racism. When Destiny says racist, he's talking about one very specific thing. Someone who takes very clear, coordinated, thoughtful actions against Black people on the basis of their race or skin color. When Fanatiq says racism, he could mean something like you doing something unconsciously that affects Black people in a negative way. He would call that a form of light racism, maybe. And Destiny is incapable of accepting that there is the possibility that maybe when Fanatiq says he's racist that he means something else. And then Destiny's response to that is to then turn around and call Fanatiq racist. But remember what I just said, when Destiny says racist, he means something very, very different. So I don't think it's very one-sided when Fanatiq says, hey, sometimes you do things that contribute towards racism, and then Destiny turns around and says, well, you're an actual raging, conscious racist person because you think that Black people ought to marry Black people.
I think a lot of
Does Fanatiq call himself racist then? If he does things that would be unconscious, then yeah, he would probably say that it was a contribution. I don't want to speak on Fanatiq's behalf, but that would be like the idea, yeah. But the thing that he said that Destiny did was racist was, what was it? It was just having certain opinions on things or thinking a certain way. Because Fanatiq has an idea, and Fanatiq kind of pushes this idea that white people sometimes we think certain ways out of evolution or out of, not evolution, evolution's not the right word. We think certain ways because of the way we've been raised over generation. And Fanatiq thinks that things that might contribute to racism actively might be similar to racism or might be able to be called racism. I don't agree with that. Destiny doesn't agree with that. But not agreeing with that doesn't mean you can't talk to the fucking person. It's so stupid, this idea that I can't talk to this person, we disagree. What do you mean? We should be talking to people that we disagree with. Why can't Destiny say, I understand you think I'm racist and I understand I think you're racist, but let's have a discussion? If Fanatiq reaches out to Destiny, the last time Fanatiq reached out to Destiny, Destiny told him to kill himself. That was his response. So I don't think it's very fair to say that it's a two-sided thing. When Fanatiq says, hey, let's discuss this, and Destiny says, no, you're racist, kill yourself. I don't think that's very fair. Yes, they have talked many times, right. And there's nothing wrong with being done either. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm done with talking to Fanatiq. I just don't like talking to him. He calls me racist too much. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what Destiny says when you say, hey, Destiny, why don't you talk to Fanatiq anymore? He says it's because he's a racist piece of shit. And that's not fair, right? Like, that's, why is he racist? Because he thinks you're racist, right? Like, or the main reason Destiny thinks he's racist is because Fanatiq says that black people ought to marry black people. Sometimes, not only black people. Like, he doesn't think it should be illegal to marry white people or something like that, but he has an opinion that black people should try to stick to marrying black people. Do I think that that's maybe a little racist? Yeah, maybe a little bit, and I talked to Fanatiq about that. But the thing is, we disagree on the matter. We don't have to agree on the matter to talk to about it. What are we doing here? This is Twitch politics. You talk to people you disagree with, you have discussions, you come to an understanding. But then Destiny, because he's the owner and founder of Twitch politics, basically, he's able to just blacklist people because he thinks that they're too racist for him to talk to. Well, that's pretty fucking stupid if you ask me. I don't think we should be eliting or showing some sort of cultural elitism on the Twitch politics scene where we only let people in who we think are not racist. Let everybody in, racist, Nazi, whatever, and talk to these people and try to convince them that they're wrong. That's what the audience wants. The audience doesn't want to hear two people circle jerk about how right they are. They want to hear people disagree. And in order to disagree, you have to have people that you disagree with. He might come back around and let him back on the platform. He gets over things with time. Yeah, that's the problem, Crazy for Coke, is that this one person has all this power and they're not using it very responsibly. They're nuking Fanatiq from orbit because they don't like him, because he calls them racist. Cry me a fucking river. You're on Twitch politics. Grow up. You make $100,000 a year talking to people who are under the age of 18 all day about politics, and you can't handle talking to one guy who calls you racist, so you think you ought to be nuked from orbit? I don't know. I think that's pretty pathetic. And this is the same guy who says, I'll talk to anybody, right? Like, I'll talk to anybody except for the people I don't want to talk to. Well, that's fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't want to talk to Fanatiq anymore. The problem is when he says, I don't want to talk to Fanatiq anymore because he's a racist piece of shit. That's pretty fucked up. And again, like, you know, we're talking about like several 100,000 subscribers to like 10,000 subscribers. It's going to hit very different, and it's going to have a major impact, especially when this person is considered the granddaddy of Twitch politics. I think he actually believes that. I don't care if he actually believes that. He actually believes that Big Papa Fascist is racist, and he actually believes that Vaush is racist, and he actually believes that Xanderhal is racist, and he actually believes that Hassan Piker is racist, but he will talk to any of those people. Why won't he talk to Fanatiq? Fanatiq's too racist for him? That's stupid. And what's so racist about Fanatiq? I think black people ought to marry black people. Oh my God, I can't even handle to have this conversation with you. I'm so thoroughly triggered when you have people like Vaush calling people Gusano, and when you have people like Hassan calling people Gusano, and when you have people like Xanderhal talking about how people in Iraq or how people in Israel ought to be killed, but I can't talk to Fanatiq because he thinks black people ought to marry black people. Like, dude, like, no. I have a bridge to sell you if you think that's a fair argument.
Boring shit like trials and court appearances and just I don't know. I hate it.
Again, there's nothing wrong with not allowing people on your channel, but there's something wrong with not allowing people on your channel and then talking about how they're racist pieces of shit and then refusing to elaborate. That's pretty fucked up. He was saying it was for him specifically and not for anybody else. Oh, sure. It can be for you specifically and not for anybody else. Then don't stream politics. If you don't want to talk to people because you think they're too racist for you, then don't stream politics. It's really simple. This Twitch politics isn't for babies, okay? It's not for people who are spineless. And I thought, maybe I misunderstood, I always thought that Destiny was an incredibly resilient person who can handle being disagreed with in public. But you're telling me that it's a personal thing that he doesn't like Fanatiq? Yeah, I agree with you that it's a personal thing. What I'm telling you is you have 100,000 subscribers who want to hear online political discussions. With great power comes great responsibility. You shouldn't ban people off of the basis of I don't like them. That's what Hassan does to him, And he bitches and whines about it all the time. Oh, about Fanatiq, not Destiny? Yeah, absolutely. What's one-sided opinion are you referring to? The racism claim. The racism claim. Destiny will call Fanatiq racist, but if you ask Destiny why he doesn't talk to Fanatiq, he says it's because Fanatiq calls him racist. So what? You can call him racist, but he can't call you racist? If he calls you racist, I'm not going to talk to him anymore? That's the double standard. Oh. I'm so confused right now. Everybody, shut up. I'm sick, okay? I have a 101 fever. Had a 101 fever. It's better now. Yeah, that's all. I'm a huge Destiny fan too. I'm not like some Destiny hater. I've watched him my entire life. The reason I'm in Twitch politics is because of Destiny and because of Fanatiq. These two people are very, very influential to me. The whole reason I came into Twitch politics was to try to mend the bridge between them. And it didn't work because only one side wants to. And, you know, I'm just a random Gary, but it just didn't work out. I don't hate him. I don't think he's stupid. I think he has a place in this politics scene. But I think there's something really bad about my big statement, my big thing. If you look on my Discord page, my motto is with great power comes great responsibility. I didn't invent that. It was said by Uncle Ben. But I truly believe that up and down. I think Destiny has all this power and no responsibility. And that's what I think the problem is. All the power, none of the responsibility. That's it. And I think he acts like he shouldn't. Well, I don't think he acts like, that's not fair. He truly believes that he shouldn't have to have that responsibility. And I can respect him for believing that, but I'm allowed to criticize it. But Fanatiq's not allowed to criticize it. If Fanatiq criticizes it, he's not allowed to talk to Destiny anymore. He gets, and that's just kind of stupid. I don't know. Like, it's not because Fanatiq's fucking black or something. Obviously, it's because of the racism thing, but it's just still stupid. Where did Fanatiq call Destiny racist? He's called him racist multiple times. But that's okay. That's all right. You've called me racist before, Zovia, and you know what? It's okay. I still talk to you. We're still chill. It's all right. Because when you say racist, you mean something different than what I mean, even though you might mean what I mean against me. But still, I'm able to talk to you. We're able to talk to each other. The whole point of me being racist to you is that you think I might be able to not be racist at some point. That's why you're trying to convince me. Or that maybe Fanatiq thinks that Destiny can be better than that at some point. But again, it's just the double standard. I won't talk to him because he calls me racist, but I'm going to call him racist. Like, it's just so lame. It's so lame. And this is Twitch politics. It's not about individuals. It's not supposed to be like the same person who talks shit about how Vosh creates this whole cult of personality. And now you have this cult of personality. It's like, well, what the heck? Like, No, not you, Zerg. Yeah, his takes on non-black things are very base, but this isn't a black issue. This is a interpersonal issue. This is Destiny doesn't know how to act like a big boy when people disagree with him. That's what it truly is. This is, I have someone who disagrees with me, we have problems, and in public you have to sort this shit out, but because we're online, we do different shit. And I know that Destiny is very, like, personal. He is. He's a very personal person. He's very good at understanding people and communicating with people. But on this matter, this is the same thing as like a brother and a sister fighting to me. This is infighting that one person refuses to be conscious about. And I just think that that's tragic. And that's why when I say we're trying to move away from that, we're trying to start the politics scene over, it's not because I think that we need to do like this magical based epic omega step away from Destiny. It's that I think all the things that Destiny's doing don't show a lot of responsibility for all the power that he has. And I think personally that new people can come in, show more responsibility, or at least expect more responsibility, and we can at least try to change. I know we're not going to change Twitch. It's not going to happen. But Twitch politics, I feel like that can happen. I feel like you can ask people to act like adults, and if they don't, you don't fucking talk to them. It's pretty simple. You don't want to treat me like an adult? Let me finish, have a sentence, communicate? Then why are we here? I don't know, pretty simple.
I just want the Democrat Party to become more aware of how they can directly address our issues. I want them to like actually do it, because right now it feels like a lot of times like the
You see how I just come in on the middle of a conversation and it's just fucked. It's fucked. I shouldn't have walked away. Now they're talking about the Democratic Party. I fucked up. I fucked up big time. It's all right. I got to dip anyway. It's getting pretty late.
years of Obama presidency that didn't fix that. And you can say you can show me numbers of things that you've done, but none of those things directly translated into the solutions that we need. It's concerning.
I'm gonna dip. Sorry, I gotta get to bed. It's getting pretty late for me. But thank you very much for having me on, Fanatiq, and it was great to talk to you, M87. I'm sure I'll see you again.
All right, Pons. Let's try to come up with the topics early and all that stuff.
Yeah. Let's try to do it like before the weekends, and then maybe even have like a little pre-stream so we can make sure everybody's camera works.
Sure, for sure.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, man. Yeah. You too. Peace.
I ain't gonna hold you for night. I just want to.
All right. It was good talking to you guys. No, it's fine. I understand exactly what you're saying, and no, you didn't bait me, Coke. It is truly interesting stuff to talk about. The literal thought of oppression is thought terminating for Destiny, which is why he somehow always sides with the authority side. That's a lot for me to take in, and I'd have to dissect that. But I think overall, the problem is just that he's very smart, and there's not other people on here who are engaging their full brain to try to combat him. That's all I think it is. I don't think he's special or unique or some kind of magic. I think that you just need to approach him with fairness and candor, and I guess don't be Fanatiq, because no, I mean, look, him and Fanatiq beefed pretty hard. They beefed, okay? They beefed. There was actual beef. But Fanatiq was always like, hey, let's discuss. And Destiny was always like, no, racism. It doesn't matter if he's smart or rhetorically gifted. I don't know if he's not smart or if he's not rhetorically gifted. I think he's probably smarter than the average person. But what I'm trying to say is that the intelligence doesn't matter here. Whether or not he's smart has no bearing on whether or not you can communicate with him. And everybody's so focused on that. Oh, he's a smart guy. He talks fast. Who cares about any of that stuff? It's not about being a smart guy and talking fast. It's about, hey, you have these standards. I have these standards. Let's talk about them like human beings. That's it. I understand you say that, Coke, and I want you to, when we get off, I want you to watch Fanatiq's video on it and then watch Destiny's video on it. And you can see the timeline. That did not happen in any short. There was a few tweets that Fanatiq made that had called Destiny racist, but these came very, very far after. It was good to see you, G. Have a good night. I'll be streaming tomorrow, maybe? Tomorrow, probably, once I feel better. I mean, come on. Destiny does more research than that. To be fair, how many people do you know who have research streams? Let's not be... Remember, Destiny is a problem, but we need to not assume that everything he does is a problem. There's such things as being right, even if you're not fully right, or being right about some things and not everything. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's not like Destiny's this raging retard who can't be discussed with, can't be communicated with. I have a schedule. My schedule is on my Discord. It's posted right now. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 8 a.m., sorry. And Wednesday I do the Fanatiq show. That's all. Yeah, so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8 a.m. It's just that I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow because I have this fever and everything, and the only reason I'm on today is for this thing. Yeah, I mean, 100%, except for the Black Anna thing, which was... the Black Anna thing, it's like another situation, right? Where it's like, now you have this like, think of Black Anna in relation to Fanatiq. You have this person who comes on and is like, you're racist, you're bigoted, you're stupid, you don't know what black people want. And Fanatiq's like, or in Destiny's like, okay, no problem. And that's all the same shit that he said Fanatiq did, but it's fine when Black Anna does it? I don't understand. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But if you liked my stuff, if you liked watching today, be sure to follow. You know, go to my YouTube, subscribe, twitch.tv/pawns, youtube.com/pawns. Do the things that you do when you like videos. I'm not going to fucking tell you to sit here and do it, okay? Here's the call to action. It's the meta narrative of me saying that I'm giving you a call to action. This is my call to action. There you go, guys. I will be on tomorrow, most likely. I will let you know on the old Discord arena. Oh my god. Thank you, Crazy for Coke. I appreciate it. Oh my god, it's doing it again.
Follow your channel. Crazy for Coke. Follow your fucking channel.
I love how it doubled over. Just so, what a great way to end the stream with a fucking double over of that shit. Oh my god, what a disaster. Okay, tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, everybody have a good day. I'll keep you updated on the Discord arena. Coke, it was nice to talk to you. I'm glad we were able to have some actual good discussion despite us disagreeing at the beginning. Everybody have a good night. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the stuff. Peace out. Love you guys. Take care. Yeah, that's it. I'm fucking out of here. Get some CVS pills. What the fuck? All right, I'm on my way to CVS. Peace out.